As we ponder the profound concept of eternal suffering, I am reminded of a powerful message from a wise elder who spoke with great insight on this matter. His words struck a chord, illuminating the signs that may indicate one's perilous path toward eternal torment. He once remarked, "I will give you another token from a different perspective, and that is the extreme ease with which many people dismiss their wrongdoings. They can commit a grave offense, wash their hands, and then act as if nothing significant has happened. As if merely cleaning their hands or brushing off their guilt is sufficient to erase the memory of their wrongdoing. Many will sit here tonight who, over a long life, have committed numerous transgressions of which they would be ashamed to recall. Yet they feel no shame. They would only be ashamed if they were caught, not of the sin itself. A person truly awakened to their moral conscience feels the sting of their misdeeds deeply, as if pierced by scorpions they cannot bear it. Yet the vast majority commit countless wrongs and remain untroubled, feeling perfectly at ease. Some of you are likely very close to the end of your life, and yet can still mock morality, still jest at the idea of sin. How often do people come to a place of reflection, ignore serious warnings, and leave unchanged? They have received their final warning. Oh, if only they knew that within the week they might fall dead or be struck by an illness, never to rise again, yet they continue to flirt with fate on the very edge of everlasting despair. Humanity has long grappled with the concept of a place of eternal suffering, a realm of endless torment, devoid of light, filled with ceaseless wailing and gnashing of teeth. It is a place where relentless anguish and regret reign supreme, a place of eternal separation from all that is good. Discussions about such a grim destination are rare in modern discourse, overshadowed by conversations about success, happiness, and personal achievement. However, the gravity of eternal suffering transcends material concerns. Let us then turn our focus to what truly matters, the paths that lead to either everlasting peace or perpetual torment. Human existence is a journey towards an unavoidable encounter with destiny. Whether one believes in an ultimate judgment or not, the signs indicating a descent into eternal suffering are observable and profound. We will explore 3 significant indicators of such a path. Sign number 1, dismissing the need for moral guidance. A key sign that one is heading towards eternal suffering is the dismissal of any need for moral guidance or ethical principles. Just as ignoring a warning sign on a dangerous road can lead to disaster, ignoring moral and ethical guidelines can lead to spiritual and existential ruin. The belief that one can navigate life without any form of higher moral authority or ethical framework is not only misguided but perilous. Many people today believe that morality is relative and that each person can determine their own right and wrong. However, this subjective approach often leads to justifying harmful behaviors and decisions. Rejecting the idea of moral absolutes can make one more susceptible to engaging in actions that bring harm to themselves and others. The lack of a moral compass means there is no guiding principle to prevent one from making choices that lead to destruction. The consequences of such actions may not be immediate, but over time they accumulate, leading one further down the path of darkness and despair. Without a foundation of moral guidance, individuals may find themselves lost, making decisions based on fleeting emotions or self-serving motives rather than enduring principles of right and wrong. This directionless existence not only affects one's personal life but also impacts those around them, creating a ripple effect of negativity and suffering. Consider the case of an individual who lives by the principle of might makes right without a moral compass. They may use their power or influence to manipulate, control, or harm others to achieve their goals. This approach not only destroys relationships but also leads to a life of isolation and regret. The temporary gains achieved through such actions are overshadowed by the long-term consequences of broken trust and damaged reputations. On a societal level, the dismissal of moral guidance can lead to widespread corruption and decay. When individuals in positions of power reject ethical principles, they may engage in activities that harm the collective well-being. This can result in social unrest, economic instability, and a general decline in the quality of life for many. Furthermore, the absence of moral guidance often leads to a life lacking in purpose and meaning. Without a sense of right and wrong, individuals may find themselves drifting aimlessly, unable to find satisfaction or fulfillment. This existential void can lead to feelings of hopelessness and despair, further reinforcing the downward spiral toward eternal suffering. Sign number 2, living a life unchanged by reflection or growth. Another significant indicator that one is on a path to eternal suffering is the absence of personal growth and reflection. A life unchanged by introspection and the lessons learned from past experiences is a life stuck in a destructive cycle. Growth and change are fundamental aspects of a meaningful existence. When an individual refuses to reflect on their actions and learn from their mistakes, they are doomed to repeat them. This stagnation leads to a life marked by recurring patterns of harmful behavior, preventing any real progress or improvement. Personal growth involves recognizing one's flaws and making a conscious effort to improve. It requires humility, the ability to admit when one is wrong, and the willingness to seek forgiveness and make amends. Those who ignore this process remain trapped in their old ways, their lives characterized by the same mistakes and failures. A refusal to change and grow can manifest in various ways: persistent dishonesty, continuous harmful relationships, repeated unethical decisions, and a general lack of empathy and consideration for others. These behaviors not only cause personal suffering but also harm those around the individual, creating a legacy of pain and regret. Growth is also tied to the ability to feel remorse and guilt for wrongdoings. When one no longer feels any remorse for their actions, it signifies a deep moral decay. This absence of guilt or regret indicates a hardened heart, one that is closed off to the possibility of redemption or improvement. Imagine a person who repeatedly betrays the trust of their friends and family. Each betrayal creates a rift, causing pain and division. Without reflection and a desire to change, this person will continue their harmful behavior, ultimately finding themselves isolated and alone. The relationships that could have brought joy and support become sources of sorrow and regret. In the workplace, an individual who refuses to learn from their mistakes may find themselves stuck in a cycle of failure and frustration. Their inability to adapt and grow not only hinders their career progression, but also affects the overall productivity and morale of their team. The cumulative effect of their stagnant behavior can lead to missed opportunities and a diminished sense of self-worth. On a broader scale, societal progress depends on the willingness of its members to reflect and grow. When individuals and institutions refuse to learn from history or adapt to changing circumstances, they risk repeating the mistakes of the past. This can result in prolonged periods of conflict, injustice, and suffering. Sign number 3, denying the existence of consequences. The third sign that indicates a person is heading towards eternal suffering is the outright denial of the existence of consequences. Just as fire burns regardless of one's belief in it, the consequences of one's actions are real and unavoidable, whether one acknowledges them or not. Many people live their lives with the belief that they are immune to the repercussions of their actions. They indulge in harmful behaviors, convinced that they will never face the consequences. This denial is a dangerous illusion that blinds individuals to the reality of their situation. Consequences, whether immediate or delayed, are an inherent part of the moral and ethical framework of existence. Ignoring this reality leads to a false sense of security, where individuals feel justified in their actions, no matter how harmful. This mindset can result in reckless behavior, a disregard for others' well-being, and ultimately, a descent into a state of irreversible moral and spiritual decay. Denial of consequences is often accompanied by a refusal to accept responsibility for one's actions. Instead of owning up to their mistakes, individuals may blame others, make excuses, or simply ignore the impact of their actions. This lack of accountability prevents any possibility of redemption or improvement, locking the individual into a cycle of perpetual wrongdoing and suffering. Consider the individual who engages in unethical business practices, believing they will never be caught. They may experience short-term gains, but eventually the consequences catch up. Legal repercussions, loss of reputation, and financial ruin are just some of the possible outcomes. The temporary success achieved through dishonesty is ultimately overshadowed by long-term damage and regret. In personal relationships, denial of consequences can lead to a pattern of destructive behavior. Someone who repeatedly lies, cheats, or manipulates others may believe they are getting away with it. However, the trust and respect of those around them will erode over time, leaving them isolated and unloved. The emotional toll of such behavior can lead to a deep sense of loneliness and despair. On a societal level, the denial of consequences can have far-reaching effects. When individuals and institutions refuse to acknowledge the impact of their actions, it can lead to widespread corruption, environmental degradation, and social injustice. The cumulative effect of these actions can result in a society marked by inequality, conflict, and suffering. The path forward. Recognizing these signs is the first step towards changing one's course. It is essential to embrace moral guidance, commit to personal growth, and acknowledge the reality of consequences. Doing so not only improves one's own life, but also contributes to the well-being of society as a whole. Embracing moral guidance. Seek out and adhere to ethical principles that promote the well-being of oneself and others. Reflect on the teachings of moral philosophers, spiritual leaders, and ethical frameworks to guide decision-making. Engage in practices that cultivate empathy, compassion, and a sense of justice. Commitment to personal growth. Regularly reflect on one's actions and their impact on others. Seek feedback and be open to constructive criticism. Set goals for personal improvement and take actionable steps towards achieving them. Cultivate a mindset of lifelong learning and adaptability. Acknowledging consequences. Accept responsibility for one's actions and their outcomes. Reflect on past mistakes and learn from them. Consider the long-term impact of decisions and actions on oneself and others. Make amends and seek forgiveness when necessary. Conclusion. Eternal suffering is a sobering and profound concept that demands serious reflection and self-examination. The signs that indicate a path towards such a fate are clear, dismissing the need for moral guidance, living a life unchanged by reflection or growth, and denying the existence of consequences. Each of us is on a journey towards an inevitable encounter with our destiny. Let us heed these warnings, examine our lives, and ensure that we are on the path to a meaningful and fulfilling existence. The stakes are eternal, and the time to act is now. By embracing moral guidance, committing to personal growth, and acknowledging the reality of consequences, we can navigate our lives towards a future filled with purpose, fulfillment, and lasting peace.